Hey, I'm Dr. Kate Walker. Welcome to the Thursday training. If you're watching us on replay, hello, I'm so glad you're here. This is an update or a Reader's Digest version of what we heard from the live webinar yesterday with Christina DeLuna. And Christina is the LPC board administrator, and she was gracious enough to agree to a free webinar for us. And if you were able to join us live yesterday, awesome. You get a CE for that. But since you're a Step It Upper, you also get the CE free as part, not free, well, you're pay for it because you're a member, but it's going to be included as an asynchronous replay in your Step It Up membership. And remember, all you got to do is you got to go up here and watch the video to see how to access your Kate Walker Training Step It Up profile. No Facebook required. So I'm going to give you the wrap up, the little Reader's Digest version of what Christina talked to us about yesterday. So if you want the whole thing, give me a couple of days because I am downloading it from Zoom, editing it so it's all nice and pretty. Put it in your profile with a quiz because I got to give you a quiz in order to give you CE credit. Then it will be good to go. 1 hour of ethics, Texas ethics, and supervision. So look for that in the next couple of days. But in the meantime, here you are. Let's go over what Christina told us. First of all, let me tell you what, just in a nutshell, she talked about CE requirements. So you'll learn about that, especially, well, in LMFTs. I hate to leave you out today, but she is the LPC board administrator. So don't have a lot of information here for LMFT, but I'll give you a little bit. You know me. I'll talk about paperwork misprints and how to know when a rule goes into effect. And those are my 3 things. Yep. Okay, that's it. So one of the main things, well, let me back up. So you remember last week, I asked you what questions you would ask Christina if you attended the webinar. What questions did you want me to send her for the webinar in preparation for the webinar? And you did a great job. But, so there, I know I should say and, not but some of you asked questions that were related to rules. And Christina is not a board member. She is the liaison between the staff and the board members. So she is key in things like, you know, how many upgrades are happening, how many initial applications are happening, and how to make things run smoothly. Christina's been here since we transitioned from the old Department of Health Services to the brand spanking new BHEC board, and she's been instrumental in making that process go smoothly. Also on the call yesterday was Tim Spear, who is the BHEC Director of Operations. So that was super cool too. So if you watch the replay, what you'll notice is Christina's answering our questions, but then Tim Spear was in our chat answering those as well. So really, really great to have them both on the call. But these questions, to kind of go back to that, really pertain to things that are administrative. And those are honestly, those are the things that kind of make us want to pull our hair out. But in the replay, when you go back and watch it, she will walk you through what to do if you want to propose a rule, right? If there's something that you just don't like or you wish was different, there's a way to propose a rule, and she walks you through that. I'm going to take you through, in a minute, I'm going to take you through a screen share so that you can see how to get updates, because that's all I do. I sign up for updates. So I know when a board meeting is going to happen. I know when a lunch and learn is going to happen. And so I can pass that information on to you guys. So some of the questions that people wanted to know were, number one, why haven't they updated, this is for you supervisors, why haven't they updated the supervisor agreement form? It still says mail to address, even though they aren't accepting snail mail. And it confuses every single one of my potential LPC associates. So this is something that happens a lot when the board makes changes or new rules come around. The paperwork is sort of the last bit of the puzzle. But if you were on the call, what you noticed was they were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. We're going to get that fixed right now. And so I think literally while we were on the call, they were updating that paperwork. So when you have a new LPC associate or wannabe LPC associate, a grad student, whatever, when they come to you, they are going to upload a bunch and they're going to have stuff mailed to the board. The stuff that is mailed to the board comes from other places, their official transcript, their test scores, their background check in the sealed envelopes. What they're going to upload are things like their agreement with you, their initial application. They'll put in their credit card information. So there is really nothing that has to be mailed to the board regarding applications and upgrades. So it's nice that they're going in and they're fixing that paperwork. So there was another paperwork error, not really an error, just confusing, because with LPC associates, supervision is an indirect hour. I'm going to say that again. Supervision is an indirect hour. But on the hours tally, when you enter the hours on the website, and actually on the paperwork, this is where the issue is, it asks for the number of supervision hours. So it's confusing because when you put those numbers together, supervision plus indirect, it's almost like you're counting them twice. So they're aware of that, and they're going to update that paperwork as well, because supervision for LPC associates just gets lumped together with indirect hours. LMFT associates, on the other hand, must count supervision hours. It's still an indirect hour, but they must have 200 hours of supervision, 100 of which are individual, 100 of which are group, and they can still roll over supervision hours from their excess graduate school supervision stuff, right? But you can't count on that to the end because staff isn't going to give you any kind of an audit or a tally until your supervisee is ready to upgrade to full licensure. So in a nutshell, what you've got are your paperwork that you're filling out with the experience hours that you're going to upload may look a little bit different and it may be confusing, but just remember, supervision is an indirect hour. All right, supervision is an indirect hour, and Christina and Mr. Spiritum, they're aware and they're getting it fixed. So yay. Let me go back to Facebook. Any questions about that? All right, I don't see anything. All right, I'm going to keep on moving. All right, so she did not talk about any complaints. So I respect that. She couldn't talk to sort of rules or issues that the board is contemplating, like folks who want to go into coaching from counseling or who lose their license and become a coach. She couldn't really speak to that because that's not an administrative issue, that's a board issue. Also about using different modalities and interventions that aren't empirically validated. That was a question because the last Lunch and Learn, the board did a nice sort of seminar on empirically validated versus other modalities. And I believe you can go to their YouTube channel and actually see that. So we really just stuck to things that are administrative. So what are we all kind of thinking of? The CE rule, right? The new continuing education rule for LPCs. Now, LMFTs, your new rule, the same exact rule, there may be two changes, two things that are different between the two licenses. Yours went into effect September 2022. Now, I'm not going to read it all out for you. Again, just you can go back to you'll get the replay here probably tomorrow once I get it edited. But when you go through and see, there are additional hours requirements within the 24. So they didn't increase the number of requirements, okay? So for LPC, it's still 24 CEs within a renewal cycle. And some of those hours have to be in ethics. Some have to be in multiculturalism. And some of them have to be, if you're a supervisor, they have to be in supervision. And then 50% of those have to be from a certain class of provider. Now, Christina made it very clear, the board is not back into the approving providers business. In fact, that was one of the changes the legislature and Sunset demanded of these boards was we're not going to approve providers anymore. We're not going to take your $50 and give you a thumbs up, which is what we did back in the day when you wanted to be an approved provider. You just filled out a form, paid $50, and bam, you were on a list somewhere. But 50% of our CEs must come from this certain class of providers. So in the list is, it's already posted because it's out here for review. It's not here, but you can go to the Texas Register. For example, hospitals, nationally accredited organizations, schools, LPC supervisors are that class. So if you're a supervisor, you're going to be one of those 50% that folks can, you're not one of the 50%. You can provide the CEs that folks can use for the 50%. So that rule is not in effect yet for LPC. Now, in one of my courses, I go over that and I copy the italics that it's at the end of the proposed rule, because when you get the updates like I do, I can go and I can look at these things and I can copy paste them. And usually at the very bottom, it will say, rule goes into effect February, blah, blah, blah. So even though Christina, she did not say when this rule could go into effect, and in fact, she cannot, because it's now going from, it's the LPC board, goes to BHEC, goes to the governor's office, goes back to BHEC, gets posted in the register, open for comments, back to BHEC. So it's quite a gymnastics run there, but it's not likely that this will be available until 2024. So for LMFTs, again, for you, it is in effect now. It went into effect in 2022. LPCs, we're still under the old CE rules, okay? So what that means is you go back and you look at the rules. How many ethics do you need? How many Texas ethics do you need? And if you're a supervisor, that one little word, additional, right? Additional means right now we have to have 30 CEs. We have to have 6 additional CEs in supervision right now. When this rule goes into effect, and it will go into effect, that goes away. We're back to 24 CEs in our renewal cycle, 6 of which are in supervision. So that's good news. I actually like the CEs because I think it gives a wide variety, and it really makes sure that we're hitting on the things that we need to hit on. So they wanted to reiterate, though, anybody can be a CE provider as long as the content is counseling related. So when you go attend something for CEs, you want to make sure you get a syllabus or just at least a program that tells you what the title is. So if it's ethics, and this is what Tim Spear was saying, make sure it's got ethics in the title. You know, don't let it say, you know, the art of fence building and say, oh yeah, that was an ethics CE, right? It make sure everything on there says ethics, 1 hour ethics, right? Don't make staff guess. They're not going to, right? They're just going to go with what it says. So make sure it's in the title, make sure you get a certificate, make sure that they have you fill out an evaluation, and make sure that your CE provider is willing to hang on to those records for a certain amount of time. Let's see, I'm going to check for questions because I can't have both screens open. Okay, so no questions in the chat. All right. So I talked about CE requirements. I talked about paperwork misprints. I've talked about how to know when a rule goes into effect. And let me make one other note about when the rule goes into effect. I mean, sometimes it can be fast if you're not paying attention. For example, I wasn't paying attention, and LMFT associates had to put the name of their supervisor in their advertising, just like LPC associates, and that went into effect January 1st, 2023, so like 3 weeks ago. And I was like, wow, I forgot. I didn't see it coming. Either I missed the update or, you know, when it was posted in the register, because remember, none of these are snuck in on you. These things all have to be posted in the Texas Register. If you're wondering what the Texas Register is, just Google Texas Register, and you'll see it's sort of like the village square, right, where they had to pound the notice into the big pole and everybody hear ye, and so it's a public notice, basically. Little dramatic effect there. All right, I'm going to screen share now. So for those of you who don't know what the BHEC website looks like, that's okay. No shame in that. That's all right. So here it is. Here's the BHEC website. One of the things she told us about, which I think was so helpful, actually two things. Well, I'll go ahead and take you here. The FAQ. Look at all these. All these things that, I know I get asked, right? And so people email the board and they want to talk to somebody. Well, look, what's considered self-study. That's going to be one of the CE rules. You'll be allowed to do a self-study. How do you know if you're under a CE audit? She covered this last night. If you get a blue postcard, you don't have to upload any of your CEs. I know folks who upload their CEs every single time. You don't have to do that, right? And you'll know you're under an audit if you receive a letter telling you that you're under audit or you're being audited. So the blue postcard, you're good to go. White letter, you got to get your paperwork together. The other thing, contact us. I should have the Jeopardy music right now. Email updates, boom. All right, so if you want to be in the know, sign up for email updates. Make sure they're not going to your spam folder. Sign up and they will let you know. You can pick which list that you want to be on and you will know what I know. So when things are posted, when things are open for public comment, when the lunch and learns happen, you really, especially if you're, well, I shouldn't even say that. I was going to say, especially if you're a supervisor, but heck, I would make your LPC associates and your LMFT associates be on this thing too. So if you're a grad student, get on this. If you're an associate, sign up for this thing, the updates. The other thing she showed that was so helpful are the how-to user guides. Now, I will talk to supervisors right now, especially those of you if you're taking the 40-hour training to become a supervisor in Texas. This answers so many questions. One of the things in our 40-hour training, or at least mine, I can't address every single thing because things change all the time, or there's a misprint, or there's something in process or a rule is about to change. So all I can do is post changes in the rules update section of my course. But this is what you can use as a supervisor to teach your grad students how to change their address. Did you know there's a rule that says if you don't have your correct name and address with the board, it's a violation. So this is going to give you how to request a duplicate wall certificate. I see that all the time in the threads. In fact, you can start telling people, hey, I know where you can find the answer to that. So I'm going to just kind of scroll through that. If you're watching this on a replay, yay, watch and go play with this. Go click it. Go mess around with it. All right, I'm going to stop the share. And I don't see anyone in our waiting room, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today. This has been just a wrap up or a Reader's Digest version of the free CE presented by Christina DeLuna, who's the LPC board administrator. So you guys will get the full thing in your Kate Walker Training Step It Up profile. It will be an asynchronous CE for Texas ethics. And so you'll see a little quiz at the end of it, and then you'll be able to download your certificate, or I believe we email you a certificate, the official one, so the one you keep for your records. If you have any questions for me, post it in the thread and make sure you tag me. If you have questions for Christina, you saw just a second ago how to email the board, but be sure to check the FAQ and the user guide first, okay? Because remember, every time one of the staff has to step away from what they're doing to answer a phone or answer an email, that's an upgrade that's not getting attended to. That's an initial application that's just sitting there. And if you want to know which application or upgrade, or even if you're applying for your supervisor designation, if you want to know which one they're on, you can find that out here on the site as well. All right, guys, that's it. I'm Dr. Kate Walker, and you are in the Step It Up weekly training. Thanks for your grace last week. I was in an airport, so we had to do a replay, but I hope you enjoyed the David Frank podcast. You can always check that out at Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses podcast. And don't forget, new training comes out as soon as I can get it edited and in your profile. And then we'll have a new CE webinar happening in February. All right, guys, thank you so much for being awesome and going the extra mile and joining the Step It Up membership. You're amazing. Have a great day.